How's it going, everyone? Welcome. Today, we're going to be discussing the correct steps you will need to take if you're thinking about buying a house in 2020. For most people, this is the most expensive purchase they will ever make, and it's an emotional process. You get excited one day, then disappointed the next day, then excited again, and then you begin to feel nervous. It's really a roller coaster of emotions. But if you do everything the right way, it can be the best financial decision you ever make. But if you don't do it the right way, it can be a real big mess. It would be great if you could just skip to the point where you found the perfect house and you're standing next to a sold sign with keys in hand, but it's not that easy. So let me give you some tips that will help you if you feel buying a house is the right move for you. The first step to buying a house is meeting with a loan officer, unless you're buying in cash, in which case you can skip to the next step. Once you meet with a loan officer, you will fill out a pre-approval application asking you about your employment history, income, current assets, and credit history. They will also ask you to provide documentation like pay stubs, bank statements, and tax returns, so be ready to dive deep into all of your financial information. Once this phase is done, they will match you with the correct loan. Now, there are many types of loans available, but by far the most common are conventional and FHA loans. Conventional loans are not backed by the government, but instead are issued by banks or private lenders. These loans normally require a down payment of anywhere between 10 to 20%. If you're trying to get the best terms possible with the lowest rate, you will want to go with a conventional loan and put down at least 20% and have a credit score of 740 and above. Next, we have FHA loans, which are government sponsored, so they will have lower credit and down payment requirements. Typically, for an FHA loan, you will need a credit score of around 680 and a down payment of as little as 3.5%. Since people who use FHA loans are statistically more likely to default on their mortgage, these loans have higher interest rates and you will need to pay what is known as PMI or private mortgage insurance. This is just a type of insurance to protect the lender against losses if you default on your loan. In addition to helping you pick out a loan, the loan officer will tell you how expensive of a house you qualify for and give you a breakdown of your monthly payments and any additional costs that are associated with buying a house. This is a very important step because the last thing you want to do is begin looking at houses, then find that perfect house and discover that you don't qualify for that house. You want to make sure you have everything ready to go so when you begin going to open houses and viewing properties, you can act quickly when you come across that perfect house. Also, it's important to mention that when you're in the process of buying a house, you don't want to switch jobs or buy a new car because your pre-approval is based on things not changing. The second step to buying a house is finding a trustworthy and knowledgeable real estate agent. Buying a house is a complicated process with so many moving parts and factors that must be considered. A frequently asked question is if a buyer even needs an agent or whether they can do it alone. The answer is that you don't necessarily need an agent, but here in California, the seller pays for the realtor commissions for both the seller's agent and the buyer's agent, so there's really no reason why you wouldn't want an agent representing you. It's not like you'll be saving some money by representing yourself. In fact, it's most likely the opposite. Because agents are familiar with the process, they can help you negotiate a lower price and better terms. It's important, however, that you find yourself a good agent who has a good track record. This is where a good agent and a bad agent can make all the difference. A bad agent can cost you thousands of dollars by overpaying or buying a house that has major issues like roof leaks, foundation problems, or illegal additions. However, a good agent will help you sort through all the wrong information floating out there, help you find and schedule properties to see, and become your chief negotiation officer, saving you thousands. Also, I would recommend sitting down with your agent before starting to look at houses and have them walk you through the process and explain to you what to expect at every stage of the buying process. You should also take this time to write down your home criteria and separate your needs and wants. For example, your home needs are going to be something that you must have and that you won't be able to reasonably change, such as location, neighborhood, school district, size of the house, or size of the lot. Then consider the things you would like to have but are not essential, like having an open kitchen, having a long driveway, or having a pool. Knowing these things in advance will make the process go a lot smoother and will save you lots of time and frustration. After you have the first two steps done, then you can start the purchase process, which begins with searching for houses. Your search most likely started a while back through websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, or Redfin. Something important to know is a lot of these websites will have their own estimates of how much a house is worth, but rarely are they ever correct. So the best thing to do is ignore these estimates altogether and instead have your agent provide you with market comparables. When you're starting to look at houses, I would recommend you look at all the houses possible. You can take a weekend and dedicate it to visiting various open houses so you can get a better idea of what is out there and what you can realistically expect to get within your budget in a certain area. Also, by having seen as many houses as possible, you will be able to recognize when you found that perfect home for the best price. After you found the house you want, it's time to put together an offer and submit it to the sellers. This is another area where having a good agent makes all the difference. Depending on your individual circumstances, your agent will write an offer that highlights all the benefits the seller will receive if they accept your offer. One example is if you're a cash buyer. In this case, your agent can highlight that there will not be a lender involved, which means an appraisal is not needed, and that eliminates one more thing that can go wrong. Also, with cash buyers, the escrow period can be as short as 10 days, so if you have a seller who's in a rush to get their house sold, This will give you an upper hand. Not everyone is a cash buyer, so that means a lender will be involved. So in this case, your agent must find other factors to highlight that appeal to these sellers. For example, I had a client who was looking to buy a house and they were using a lender, so we couldn't offer some of the terms a cash buyer would be able to offer. But after talking to these sellers, I found out they were moving to Texas. So when I presented my client's offer, I let them know that my clients were not in a big rush to move into the house and that they were willing to have a longer escrow than normal to give these sellers some extra time to move. Because of this, my clients were able to get the house they really wanted and everyone was happy. After you've gotten your offer accepted, you move into the contingency period or option period, whatever you want to call it. Typically, you'll give the seller a deposit to show your commitment. Now at the end of the option period, you can either cancel the purchase, get your deposit back, and continue looking for another house, or if you're satisfied with the house, the deposit will be used towards your down payment. During the option period, there are a few things that you and your agent must get done. Normally, right after your offer is accepted, the listing agent will send your agent quite a few disclosures that they will go over with you. Now, depending on where you live, these might vary, but here in California, they include items such as the condition of the property, external factors that might affect the value of the property, and natural hazards. It is important your agent is thorough when discussing these items with you because they can signal that something is wrong with the property. That leads us to our next item, which is scheduling a general inspection. Here, the inspector will look over everything from the roof to the kitchen appliances and will provide you with a detailed report. Because this is a general inspection, you will most likely find sections where the general inspector recommends you consult with an expert in that area. For example, let's say the general inspector goes on the roof and he sees some signs of leaking or damaged roof tiles. He will note that his inspection report, but will recommend you consult with a roofing contractor to get a more detailed idea of the condition of the roof. Once you have all the information from the inspection, it's time to decide what you want to do. But this is one of those times you should look at all the information without involving your emotions. The reason I say this is that you will never find a house that's 100% perfect because even the best kept houses will have something that the inspector points out. This is expected because if the inspector says there's absolutely nothing wrong with the house, then he isn't doing his job. So if it is determined that the house has major issues like plumbing or foundation problems and you don't want to deal with fixing those problems, then you can walk away, get your deposit back, and continue searching for another house. But if the house has minor issues like a broken outlet, 1 or 2 broken roof tiles, or a dishwasher that doesn't work, then those are minor things that can easily be fixed. So at this point, you can have your agent submit a formal request to have those items repaired, or you can ask for a credit and repair them yourself. After you've completed all of this, the last thing to do is wire the remaining balance of your down payment and meet with the lender and escrow company to sign a huge stack of papers. And once everything is double checked and verified, congrats, you're a homeowner. Even though at this point the legal process of buying a house is done, there are a few more things to mention. First, buying a house is a long process that can take anywhere from 30 days, assuming you're a cash buyer who doesn't need to be approved and you find a house right away and close quickly, to upwards of 6 months for someone who needs to be approved, takes their time looking for that perfect house, and completes all the requirements during the escrow period. Because of this, it is important to have patience and think about the bigger picture. Some frequently asked questions homebuyers have are, can I find a rent-to-own property? Well, can you find a needle in a haystack? You probably could, but the chances of finding one are slim to none. Even though they do exist, the chances of finding a rent-to-own house that fits your needs and is in the location that you want is basically zero. Not to mention the terms you'll get if you find one are not going to be in your favor. So if you can't qualify for a house using a normal lender, then you're probably better off renting. A second frequently asked question is, how much should I offer the sellers? When buying a house, you're the only one who can decide how much you should offer. You should definitely consult with your agent and ask for their advice, but at the end of the day, the decision is yours. And a third frequently asked question is, how many homes should I look at before writing an offer? This question is asked pretty often, and the answer is that there isn't a minimum number. I've had clients write an offer on the first house they saw, and other times they write an offer on the 30th house they see. It's just a matter of when you find the house that works for your needs. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Happy house hunting, and I will see you next time.